Okay, this is your selective control valve for where your toggle button is on your joystick. When I was talking about I could push the button and hear hydraulic pressure in your quick couplers in the front, but all of a sudden they would stop. The reason being is because, so what I did was I traced all my lines and I found out that this is a pressure out, which means there's fluid coming out of this to everything else in the rear. So I was like, okay, there is hydraulic pressure here. Here's your electric solenoids, and then here's your the other half of the solenoid. This goes in here. There's a little piece of metal in here. When this gets electrocuted, it creates a magnet, and then when you have the magnet, it pulls a little thing in here back and forth, which pulls this rod, which also has a little spring on it to return it back to center. And then what that does is there's a spring on each end. This is your spool valve. This goes right down the center. And then you've got all these channels and they divert fluid to wherever it is. So if you hit the thumb button up and it contracts that magnet, this spring gets relieved and this one's now stronger. So the strong spring pushes this way, and when you let go, this one gets demagnetized, and now they balance each other to zero, right? So just like that, no fluid. This way it diverts fluid. This way it diverts fluid, right? So what I found was that I said, okay, if there's hydraulic pressure in here and it's coming out, then it means it has to be able to go to here. So I pulled these solenoids, tested them on the bench with power, and they magnetized, which means these are not bad. So if this is magnetizing, relieving the spring tension to pull the spool valve to be pushed on the other end forward, right? And there's fluid in here and there's nothing coming out, then it means the spool valve isn't moving. So what I found was I took this out, which was a nightmare. I'll actually show you real quick while I'm at it. It was a nightmare to get all of this apart, to get it out of here, which is, it sucks. It really does. Maybe I'll do a video on how to do that sometime. But the problem is, see if I can get this set back up again. So this spool valve is polished chrome metal. Actually, you can see a scuff mark in the light there. I didn't even notice that. It's easier on the camera for some reason. But moral of the story is this looks good. It looks good. This is polished, and it's like I'm retarded, so don't quote me on anything. But this is extremely hard metal, and it's machined to 10,000ths of an inch tolerance, I'm guessing, or even tighter. And this bore is where it goes through, and all those landings have different passageways in them to go fluid down the center and then fluid out these ports. You can actually see, I think, through these. Well, one of them you can, into the center cavity. That one I can see inside. But moral of the story is this guy is 10,000ths of tolerance. This bore is matched 10,000ths of tolerance and only off by a couple 10,000ths to be able to fit through. Now, one of the problems is this worked perfectly fine. I could push the trigger back and forth. I could hear it go toon, 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 toon. I could hear this moving. I could hear it audibly. And I could also, because it makes a thud when it goes back to one way or the other, and then it kind of clicks in the center. But all of a sudden it stopped clicking. I said, okay, there's got to be something wrong here. So this guy has to move through this bore. This part has to move through this bore by 10,000ths of clearance. So, but it's almost like the most tightest, best fitting glove you've ever imagined. And here's the problem. This guy, I should be able to put in here, and pretty much you can't really see it. It's kind of hard to see, but this guy should go in there and just go in, like literally you could take a human hair and shove this through the bore with like just absolute, I can't even tell you how lightly I'm pushing on this guy. But it starts to get snug. Like right there, it's really snug, and then it pops and it goes, and then it goes in and it goes in, and then it stops. Like I'm almost, like I could tap on it with a hammer and it's getting tighter, and then it stops right there. It's almost impossible. But I should be able to turn this upside down and this just falls out, but it doesn't. So that means there's something wrong with either this piece or the inside bore. Now, if you go in the other end, for example, and I'll show you what I found, maybe. I can take this guy, and it's literally, exact measurement on one end as it is on the other end. So it should fit either way, bi-directional, right? So this way I can put it in and ooh, there, so you go. So you look right there, it feels like butter. It's almost like it's not touching anything. And then it gets tight and then it pops. Not supposed to do that. Now, if I flip it over though, oh, there it is. And then it stops and it won't go nowhere. Like I'm pushing on it. Like I'm straining my thumb and it won't go nowhere. So I almost couldn't get it out. So that's what I found. And actually, you may not be able to see it. Maybe I'll prop it up just right. But let me switch my zoom a little bit. Maybe I can get it this way. If my phone would stay put. Hold on. I'm getting there. Ooh, science. Okay. So, might take me a second to find. Oh, there it is. You little bastard. Okay. So, you may not see it with the shadow. I might have to try this a couple times. But right there. Come on, you bastard. Right there. That section right there. Can't really see it in the video too easily, but that's a big old dinger. That's almost impossible to see, but that's where it primarily stops moving, is right there, which means right around here, there's actually a gap right here. You can see my straw goes in there. That cavity is where fluid pressure comes in from this fitting, which is your inlet, comes through there, through the elbow, and then into the chamber and up right through there. Well, there was some metal specks found in the hydraulic oil, cut out of the filter. And I think what happened is a piece of metal came in through here, and then when the spool valve got depressed, it got caught right in, let's zoom back out. It got caught in this cavity right here, and then as it was depressed, it got pulled. It was like sitting right here. Here's your landing in the valve body. Here's a speck of metal, and then when it got depressed, it went and then got jammed right there, and then that just screwed everybody's day up. But stupid how some of these things come about. But this is what I found on this. This is a 4052R John Deere, low hours. The customer never uses the front hydraulics. The problem is it came in with a loud screeching whining noise from the rear end. And I said, well, it sounds more to me like a hydraulic pressure deadheading or a partially stuck closed valve. What it normally actually sounds like is if you were to, for example, like curl your bucket in one way or the other. That's actually locked. Let's say I pulled the lever in to curl the bucket curls and then goes and starts to deadhead. That's what it sounded like all the time, especially from the rear end. And if you follow the lines, all the lines back here on your quick connects, so the looks like a web here, but here's a fun fact for you. Quote me if I'm wrong, or don't quote me, I might be wrong, but that fitting on that body is right on the side or the end of the spool valve for your loader. And if I remember this correctly, fluid pressure comes this way, and actually I marked it, comes in this side, up into here, through this valve body, out. One of these is returned to tank. The other one right here, arrow down, follows here, comes around here, and okay, I might be wrong there, but moral of the story is the pressure comes here. Oh yeah, so this one is So it's the fluid out. That's right. So that elbow is fluid out of there, up this hose, this line, and then it comes up through here, and then it goes into this coupler. And then it comes out of this coupler, goes through this hose, and then it goes back in, and then it goes arrow this way, and then it follows this line all the way up to here, and then that's your supply in. Perfect. So I could put my hand on this and feel it vibrating and screeching, and I said, sounds like a hydraulic issue. Well, actually, we knew it was a hydraulic issue, but why is it doing that? And so I took these fittings off, inspected the inside, couldn't find nothing, cracked them loose while I was running. There's fluid spraying everywhere, so these couplers aren't bad, like, because you got a female and a male end, and then sometimes they get stuck or they don't work, and then you'll have pressure up to here, but you won't have it here. So I did a little bit of digging around, and then I said, God, the only thing I have left is to try figure out if there's something wrong with this valve body. And because these two lines right here are your output that go under the floorboard to these top two, and they were working. And as I'm like this, I'm like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then all of a sudden it went clunk. And then all the noise in the rear end stopped, disappeared. And these never worked again. And that's where I was at. So after all this, I finally decided to reach in there and pull this out. I was getting desperate. I pulled this guy out, and that's what I found. Spool valve stuck. And because I was like, well, I have no noise anymore, I could literally just turn the key on, machine not running, and still hear a click, 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 click from the solenoids on that valve body. All of a sudden, those never made noise anymore, but I could hear the relays in the fuse box clicking. So then I took a voltmeter, tested the power on the plugs for those spool valves, and it shows power. I'm like, cool. So then it has power, but it's not doing anything. I pull the magnets off, put them on the bench, test them. They have power, still nothing. So just keep working down the line. Power, magnet, spool valve. I pulled this guy out. Actually, what I did was this guy is mounted like this, right? So this one was a bitch to get out, but I got it out through the top of that hole. And I pulled that out, and I figured, okay, cool. So I have this spool valve literally sitting on this spring on the other side, just like this, right? And I can push it with my hand. Not a lot, but I can feel it. So I had the tip sticking out of this bore with no solenoid or magnet on it. And I pushed on this with all my weight, and it never moved. And I said, uh-oh, this should move like butter. This should literally move with like no force, and it didn't. So I said, okay, well, there it is. I got to pull this out. So then a nightmare of getting those lines off. I finally did. I put it on the bench. I had both magnets off, the spool valve in it, and I could tap it with a hammer. It wouldn't move. So there you go, kids. Now you maybe learned something new. This is, by the way, an LVA. LVA 17509. This runs about anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400, depending on who you buy it from. This is literally midnight right now. I'm working on this, and I just wanted to get an answer from my customer sooner than later, because he's been waiting a while, and he's been a great guy about it. But I haven't got a straight answer of where it is, when it's available, because I got to wait till tomorrow. But just looking around online, that part's about $1,000, which sucks. Maybe I could find a used one or something, but that's all I got for you guys. Thank you.